Hey everybody, recently I've seen several of you post your favorite albums on Facebook. I'm going to do something a little different here. These aren't necessarily my favorite albums of all time, but they are vinyl albums that I bought or got from a radio station when I was young. And I'm never going to part with them. They're that special to me. Like this autographed copy of the Alabama album, their first album. Mark Herndon signed this for me. I appreciate that. And Randy, Jeff, Teddy, and Mark, you're the greatest. Same goes for Lookout Mountain's Forrester Sisters. I'm so honored to be the first person who put Kathy, June, Kim, and Christy on TV. This is their debut album, also autographed. I'm proud of you, ladies. The KZ106 Chattanooga Jams album with all these great local acts like Overland and so many others. They had to compete to get on this album, and we sold a lot of them back in my KZ days. Joan Baez. I used to love the song Diamonds and Rust. I had no idea what it was about or who it was about. Now I know. It was about Bob Dylan. I'm keeping this. When I was a kid, this album set was $9.99, way more money than I had. Elvis's worldwide 50 Gold Award #1 hits. Well, eventually I got a job, made $10, bought this album set. It's never been opened, still sealed. Prized possession. Now don't tell my wife Cindy, but this is from her album collection, Simon and Garfunkel from the 60s, the original Sound of Silence album. If you have this, hold on to it. It's a treasure. Speaking of treasure, the Statler Brothers. When I was putting together this list, Harold Reed of the Statlers was still alive. He passed away a few days ago, but I will never forget how many times I laughed at this parody album. They were sending up small town radio shows from back in the 70s, and Harold was the old road hog, Lester Roadhog Moran, and the Cadillac Cowboys. One of the funniest albums I've ever heard. Best concert we ever saw was Tina Turner at the UTC Arena. Oh my gosh, I'd never seen the back of this album before. Well, let's just say there's some good music on this album, and Tina Turner's an all-time great. My favorite radio station growing up was the Great Jet Fly. The WFLI album came out with a bunch of hits on it when I was a kid, and again, I'm never parting with this. This is special to me, as are all the great DJs who were on Jet Fly. All right, I know Bill Cosby is persona non grata these days, but this album was maybe the funniest thing I'd ever heard when I was a kid. It's the one where he is speaking in the voice of God, telling Noah how to build an ark. Oh, my goodness, I wore this album out. Another source of my warped sense of humor, can you believe that my parents allowed me to listen to this Don Rickles nightclub album when I was like 12? Truth is, I don't think they knew I was listening to it, but it was awfully funny. It still is. When I was about 14, I got this album. It was the first one George Carlin did after he grew his hair long and started using the 7 words you can't say on television. Again, I got a lot of laughs out of this, and yeah, I had to kind of keep it on the down low. I don't think Mom and Dad would have approved. Cheech and Chong. This one is autographed by Tommy Chong. The Big Bamboo album got a lot of airplay on radio, but the real special part about this album, it still has the original rolling paper inside, untouched. I wonder how many people who bought this album still have the rolling paper intact. Fun fact about the Saturday Night Live album. Back in my radio days, Channel 3 did not broadcast Saturday Night Live. Instead, they ran the 700 Club. I started a petition drive to force Channel 3 to run Saturday Night Live, and they've been running it ever since. You're welcome. And finally, one of my prized possessions, David Carroll and his orchestra, Let's Dance Again. It's this David Carroll, and he did several albums back in the 50s and 60s. Pretty talented guy, and did some splashy album covers and some cool music you could cut a rug to. So I'm proud of my namesake, David Carroll, and I hope he'd be proud of me. Thank you for watching, and speaking of vinyl, hope you'll listen to the Vinyl Express Saturday and Sunday, noon to 2 on Big 95.3.